away.
A silhouette triangular craft about 9 feet long, 6.5 feet high, came into view.
Penniston alleges that the craft had blue and yellow lights swirling around its surface.
We started experiencing radio difficulties. The air around us was electrically charged, and we could feel it on our clothes, our skin, and our hair.
Penniston claims the surface of the craft had inscribed symbols 3 inches high and 2.5 feet long.
The largest symbol was a triangle centered in the middle.
As Penniston gets closer to the object, he says that he touched it.
Even though it looked like black onyx, it felt like metal.
45 minutes later, the object maneuvers through the forest and takes off.
It lifted up off the ground and shot away at an incredible speed.
It was gone in a blink of an eye. Over 80 Air Force personnel witnessed the takeoff.
It wasn't a helicopter.
There is no way that you could have gotten any conventional aircraft in there. There's no way you would have got a helicopter in there. And the other point, of course, is these are people who worked at an Air Force base, and they said this was like nothing we'd ever seen before.
I feel like I've stepped into the eye of the UFO hurricane. Here was an experienced Air Force officer that he experienced something out of this world.
Now, this UFO was triangular in shape. It was about 9 feet wide and 6 feet high. Jim Penniston got close enough to touch the side of this thing, and he saw strange symbols on the hull.
Penniston transcribed 6 symbols etched in the craft's surface. Most of the symbols are composed of straight lines and symmetrical.
People have been trying to decipher that writing for years, thinking maybe it's Egyptian, maybe it's hieroglyphic, maybe it's pictographs. Clearly, there was a message there that we still haven't deciphered to this very day.
Some witnesses claim that the UFO left physical evidence behind.
There were indentations in the ground where this thing had landed.
Okay, we're now approaching Erie within about 25-30 feet. Hey, this is Erie. This is strange. Erie, someone want to look at the spots in the ground?
Bear in mind, of course, this is the middle of winter. The ground was very hard. Those indentations had to have been made by something that weighed several tons, and there were 3 of these indentations.
Plaster casts were made of the indentations. When plotted, they allegedly formed an equilateral triangle.
It was almost as if this craft had come down on a landing strut, so some sort of tripod-like device.
There was no conventional aircraft in 1980 known to have a triangular-shaped landing pad that was equilateral. On the following night, 5 soldiers led by Colonel Charles Halt investigate the site. They discover what they feel to be indisputable evidence of anomalous activity.
But it had left physical trace evidence.
And witness an alarming event.
It was back.
December 26, 1980, midnight. 80 U.S. Air Force personnel allegedly witness an unknown bright object land in Rendlesham Forest, England.
Not just had this UFO been seen by these trained, reliable military witnesses, but it had left physical trace evidence. It had left indentations in the ground where it had come down.
On the following night, a squad of soldiers surveys the area with a Geiger counter and detect abnormally high traces of radiation.
What kind of readings we get? Anything? 7 tenths there. 7 tenths right there in the center?
The most significant development in terms of the evidence was that they recorded levels which peaked, critically, they peaked in those 3 holes where the thing had come to rest.
The Ministry of Defense released 38 pages of documents relating to the Rendlesham sighting. Most of the file is correspondence to and from residents curious about the reported event. But one interdepartmental memo contains a chilling sentence.
Our defense intelligence staff subsequently assessed the levels of radiation as, quote, significantly higher than background, unquote. It is absolutely official. It's there in black and white in a Ministry of Defence document written by their scientific and technical intelligence specialists, yes. Unlike many UFO stories, this can be backed up. There's an audit trail of verifiable documents bearing out the very things that we've been speaking about.
Nick Pope gave us information about documentation that we didn't even know existed, and that makes it all the more valid to me. It's really taken this investigation to a whole new level for me.
Experts believe that some military bases around the world have long secret histories of UFO encounters.
There are many hundreds of cases of encounters between military aircraft and UFOs.
The team tries to find an explanation for these disturbing sightings.
You know, I'm going over some of these archival materials here, and I'm finding out that there's a pretty strong correlation between military and UFO sightings. In July 1945, we actually detonated our first atomic bomb test. And 2 years later, also in July, we have the Roswell crash.
And the Roswell crash is what, 100 miles away from Alamogordo?
Ever since 1947, there has been a correlation between possible UFO sightings and the testing, manufacturing, and storage of nuclear weapons. Is it only a coincidence that Roswell is barely 100 miles from Trinity, New Mexico, the site of the world's first nuclear explosion?
And here's this case in Pasco, Washington, 1945. A UFO was caught on radar at a naval air station. It was flying over Hanford Engineering Works, which was a major manufacturer of plutonium.
That's right, and Hanford later became a major nuclear power facility, so the nuclear power industry has stayed there really for over 60 years.
In 1945, Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Tennessee experienced numerous UFO sightings. We now know the lab was a top-secret atomic bomb plant. In 1965, Edwards Air Force Base in California spotted 12 luminous UFOs on radar.
This is the tower at Edwards. We have an object now. We have some confirmed reports of unidentified flying objects in your area. Unidentified flying saucers? They have been confirmed on radar.
F-106 interceptors made visual contact.
I have another red light moving very rapidly. He's flashing white and green. Definitely isn't an aircraft.
The F-106 jets carried Genie nuclear-tipped rockets with its weaponry. Did this nuclear technology trigger a UFO visit?
If there's a link between UFOs and nuclear weapons, I mean, what do you think is going on? Are they spying on the technology? Are they interested in nuclear technology? Or maybe they're trying to prevent nuclear technology?
I think they are monitoring us. I think they are spying on us. But the big point is this, that every time you see UFOs that are invading the airspace over nuclear weapons facilities that are highly sensitive military installations, they don't even bother to be stealthy, because they are entering our airspaces with such impunity over these nuclear weapon sites, they don't even care if they're being seen or not.
Strange to be back here. This was the hut row here, where weapons were stored in the ATF fire team facility down there.
Colonel Halt served as Deputy Base Commander at Bentwaters during the UFO sighting at Rendlesham Forest. He will neither confirm nor deny the presence